What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Bayview Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Andrew, joined as always by Mr. Chris and Mr. Richie. How are you guys?
That sounded different.
Yeah, I mean, every week it's just like, what's it going to be today,
Mr. Chris. I feel like we're kindergarten teachers or something. Or
Yeah, or like, am I that much older than you?
Yeah, Mr. Rich.
Your parents told you had to call me Mr. Richie.
Call everyone, sir.
Mr. Richie, can I have a drink of water? Yeah. So, nope. Hey, good to be with you guys. Thanks for being with us.
Yeah. And this episode is coming out early September, which is for us here at Bayview is our Go Month, which we spend a lot of time just focus on missions and mission of the church, and not just overseas missions, but local missions, and a big focus on our partners and things like that. And one of the thoughts, for a conversation for us to have was really coming from what is the mission of the church actually? What is it? Like what is a church supposed to be doing? What does that mean when we say the church is on mission, and what is it not, and what does it been look like? All those kind of things. And so that's what we really want to talk about in this episode specifically is what is it? What does that look like?
Yeah, and I think that's good because all three of us share a couple common denominators. Not only are we all three pastors, but we are also all three pastors' kids. Mm-hmm. So we've grown up around this environment from birth. And so I think we have been deeply ingrained our entire lives in the function of church. And this certainly is not meant to be any kind of a bashing on the functions of church or the programs of church. But I think it's more of an opportunity for a deep dive of what do we misinterpret as the mission, but in reality, it's just maybe supporting the mission.
Sure.
Because that you used a word right there that I'm sure we've all heard at different times. That is supposed to. Mm-hmm. And I think there's that easy place for maybe we get that pressure, like, well, we're supposed to do this. Yeah. We're supposed to be this. And I think that's where I wanted to just I was hoping we could maybe go down that trail a little bit of like, well, what is it? What are things that we do because we feel like we're supposed to versus what are things we're really supposed to be doing? Like, what's our mission? Yeah. And then the things that support the mission.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's interesting, right? Because church and churches and our church and every church is very easy to get complicated. Mm-hmm. It's very easy to do a lot of things. And it can get to a point where, maybe in the corporate world, they would call it like mission creep, right? Where it's wait, what are we doing and why are we doing it? And I think for me, that's like one of the cool things about this Go series is we're coming back to, okay, what did Jesus actually tell us to do?
Right. Right.
And that doesn't mean that the stuff we're doing is necessarily bad, right? Just because Jesus didn't say have kids ministry doesn't mean we shouldn't have it. We definitely should.
Yes.
But what did Jesus actually say? That's the mission. And like you're saying, everything else is just a support to that. And so for me, that was like such a big part of it, right? Let's go back. What did Jesus say? He said, well, go tell everybody about me. Be a witness to what I've done in your life and to what you've seen me do and make them into disciples, baptizing them, teaching them, right? And it's like, okay, that's the thing. He didn't tell us exactly how that was going to look or what the specifics of what we're supposed to do to make that happen. But he's like, this is your goal, is to teach everybody about me in such a way that they can come to saving knowledge of who he is as Messiah.
Right. I agree. And I think what that does is that gives us this starting point of no matter what some of the things we do as the church or as a church, and maybe that's even the difference we need to discuss, being a church versus what is the church. But as a church, there are things we do, but they're not necessarily, we're not doing them because that's what we're supposed to do. We're doing them we should be doing because they support the mission. Mm-hmm. I think is what I'm kind of feeling the tension on.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think, just to clarify, it's like we're talking about like programs and things like that can kind of become the main thing for a church when it's like, okay, but the why behind it, or like, does it actually point us to what we're supposed to be doing, or is it a thing? We have a church term of like the golden calves. Like, what are the things that we just do because we've always done it? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And does it actually help, or is it just, again, something we just do to say we do it? I think
we're
kind of in that space about a little bit.
Well, the things either because we feel like we're supposed to, or we always have, or it's what the church down the street is doing. Mm-hmm. I mean, let's go really super old school term that might bring up some child PTSD for us. But let's talk Christmas cantatas. All right.
Yeah.
Christmas cantatas. Now, is that in and of itself bad? No, it's singing Christmas songs. Typically, for those of you that are maybe new to this world, we call church ghetto. A cantata was typically hour and a half long, musical type setting with maybe some drama built in. A lot of times done on a Sunday morning in place of the Sunday service. The choir would work on it for months. It was a big production.
Mm-hmm.
Fine, totally fine. But are we doing it so we feel good about the performance we've done, or is something about it genuinely opening the door for people to find Jesus?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where you begin to find what you mentioned, that mission creep or mission drift is what it's sometimes called, of like, well, it doesn't seem like it's that off, but early on it may not, but it eventually continues to veer further and further away. And I just think that that's where, I've been listening, last year I listened to a podcast by Craig Rochelle, and he was talking about how at their church, which is a mega monster church, they were so focusing on simplification, scaling back to the simplest version of themselves in order to make sure that they are on mission.
Yeah.
And I think that's the battle we have, particularly maybe in a growing church or a larger church, depending on what your situation is that easy tendency to all of a sudden have so many programs and so many offerings that maybe we've lost sight of, like, what are we supposed to be doing here?
Mm-hmm.
And how do we best accomplish the mission?
Yeah.
And maybe that's more of a thing for us to break down is, what does it look like for us to be on mission while offering the things that support it?
Sure. Yeah. I think for me, especially, having spent like my adult working life, like working with next generation type ministries, is when we start thinking about programs that we're really investing in that maybe need a staff person or that we're going to do on a weekly basis and that sort of thing, a question that arises a lot is, can this group of people or this type of person receive everything they need from just attending the Sunday morning service and by going to small group?
Mm-hmm.
And like for kids, we would probably quickly say, probably not.
Yeah.
Like a 6-year-old who might come into the church service, they might get something, they might enjoy the music, they might hear something the pastors say and it like makes sense to them. But the likelihood is that they're going to be drawing or just hanging out with mom or dad, which is fine. Like that's totally cool. Yeah. Like if that's what's going on or whatever. I spent a lot of time doing that as a kid. But is there a way for us to meet that person where they're at that maybe Sunday morning isn't already doing, right?
Right.
And so then that's when you kind of start to think about, well, maybe kids should have their own place to go, right? And like when I was a kid, it was called junior church, and it was like a big thing. It was almost like new, right?
Yeah.
That kids didn't sit in church services anymore because we would have Sunday school, right? So I grew up going to Sunday school, but then you went to church afterwards.
Yes.
And I would be on the front row with my mom trying so hard not to get in trouble. And so then it was like, okay, he's not getting anything out of this. Could we create a space where he could meet Jesus where he's at?
Right.
Yeah.
And so to me, like that was a big part of kind of like where Next Gen ministry came from, where kids ministry came from, was people just acknowledging the way they need to hear about Jesus isn't already happening in the church.
Right.
Let's figure out how to communicate about Jesus to them.
Yeah, I think that's a really good example, because I think that back in the day, there probably would have been some of the conversations from people like, no, the kids need to be in church. They need to be worshiping with mom and dad, and they need to be seeing these things. And I think that's the putting the church, mentality in place of the mission. Because you're right. Like, okay, yeah, great. I'm not saying it's bad for kids to be in church at all.
Sure.
I think there's great moments for that. But in the long run, like for a 7 or 8 year old, are we really following the mission of helping them become disciples and growing in their relationship with Jesus Christ, even as a child, by just forcing them to sit there because we think that's what they should do? And versus, let's offer that. Now the flip side of that is it possible to get so focused on, well, we got to offer every possible program to every demographic, to every generational breakdown, that we lose sight of the mission?
Yeah.
And how have you seen that play out?
Yeah, and I in my opinion, that the struggle there is always just like Richie kind of mentioned, like it does need a staff person. Are we just offering it? Is it the most quality it can be, or are we just saying we have it, or we're just saying it's happening?
Yeah.
And then in the long run, it's not actually even doing what it's supposed to be doing because it's not treated with the respect and care it's supposed to be treated with.
Right.
Like I think that to me is always the tension. And
Yeah.
growing up in the church, like and being around church for a long time, and like that's always what I've seen of like, well, we can do it. It's gonna be secondhand, but we can do it. And it's like, is that the best foot forward? Is that really gonna accomplish the mission? Is that really gonna draw people closer to Jesus, or is it just kind of like we can just say we can offer it?
Yeah. And again, that comes back to like, are we just checking that box? And I think all three of us know we could sit down and write the list of boxes to be checked.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that in the perfect world a church should offer. And the reality is, one, we may not be called to offer some of those things, or we may not be in a time or a place now where we can do it well and have it still be on mission.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's a ton of things that, you know, I'm sure both of you can look back on your past church experiences, and there were great things that maybe those churches offered, like, you know, things like grief share or divorce care, some of those awesome ministries, you know, celebrate recovery. Yeah. Those are amazing things. And there are churches in our community that do offer those things.
Yeah.
We're not at a place either where we have been called to do so or we are equipped to do so. Yeah. And that's okay. We're not going to just do it because they're doing it. In fact, if anything, I'd be like, hey, listen, that church down the road is killing it with grief share.
Sure.
I would, you know, I'm not saying leave our church, but I'm saying go down there and join that one because we're all on the same team.
Yeah.
And let's support each other more in that way as well.
Yeah.
Versus the pressure to be all these things that frankly we're just not called to be.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's such a big part of kind of like even just like maybe in like the early 2000s time period, like 2000 to 2010, where so many churches that didn't really have the resources to do certain things were trying to stretch out to do these things, right? Like our doors are open every single night of the week. We have all these programs, we have all this stuff going on. Part of that was, at least from my personal experience, was the competitive nature of staffs and pastors and churches of being like, oh, they're doing that, we're going to do it too, right? Because we don't want our people going over there. But I think we're entering into this era now, especially as the church becomes increasingly more Gen Z and millennial, where they don't think territorially about church the way we did. Because even the people in those churches felt territorial, right?
Totally,
like it wasn't just like the pastor who was like, you're my people, stay here. It was like the people too, right? Like there was a sense of pride about where you went to church and this is my group and everything. But now more so than ever, there is that opportunity to be like, you know what? Grief share is important. There's a grief share that you can go to. Here, let me point you in that direction.
Correct.
This dude who does it is awesome. He knows what he's talking about. He's got the training. He's got the experience. He's done it for years. He's the best in town at this. He loves Jesus. Go hang out with him on Thursday nights.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and it's like we still want to see you on Sunday, right? We still want you to go to small group with your same small group. We want to be a part of the community with you. But, dude, go there. That's great.
And here's the catch, though, and here's why I think it happens rarely. I don't want to say it never, because I know it does, but rarely, is that deep down inside, for the pastor at least, there is that underlying fear that they're going to like it better over there and make that their church.
Yeah.
And so we're right back into that territorial hoarding mentality of like, so I'm going to actually prevent you or not offer you the best opportunity for your healing through grief, because deep down, I don't want to see you leave my church, which is really all about my insecurities and my identity. And I can't imagine how many times over the years I myself have made a decision from that place.
Sure.
I'm sure there's been more times than I'd be scared to see how many times maybe I've made a decision based on that.
Yeah, and you in my opinion, you kind of treat the church as a corporate being, like entity. Then, if that's the mentality, because like that's a paying customer who's leaving.
Yeah,
like that's essentially like the tension, right? They help keep the lights on. Like there's some of that they'll meet us say like, oh, I have xamount.com and some of that kind of stuff. I think being on both sides of needing help as a person working in ministry, but also offering help, there's something so freeing to be able to be like, go check this out. I think we're seeing it right now here in Northern Michigan, just with doing camps together, especially like student camps, where it's just like, wow, we're actually better together. Like, I could do this. And I've done camps where just my student ministry, and it's like, they were awesome and they were super fulfilling and tons of Jesus happened there. But it's just like, then there came this reality of, well, why wouldn't we all work together to offer something even more epic and more on mission for Jesus. And I think in the same way, like I've worked at a church where I had to ask another church for help. Like there's something really like ego killing about that. But to know that was going to offer the best thing for the students I was kind of over. And then, but also being in a position as a church to be like, hey, we can help you. You don't got to put our name on it, but we want to make sure you feel support. It's like that to me is like the Big C church in action. Like if we're all on the same team, all Bible believing and Bible preaching, like there's something of value that can come when the mentality does shift to like, we're all in this together, which means, like we've been saying, love that you're here, hope to see you on Sunday and in small groups, but for your grief care or whatever, you're going to find a lot of benefit over here. We have we have somebody in town who their student ministry, they're like kind of in this space. We're just like not sure what we're going to be able to offer. And he's just openly being like, but these handful of student ministries go. Yeah. Like go check it out because I want you going somewhere on Wednesday. I'd rather have you going somewhere on Wednesday than just sitting at home. Yeah. And like that to me is like that's the mentality. Like that's seeing the benefit of Christ being glorified over myself being glorified.
100%. Sure. So let me ask you a question then. Yes, no, but with deeper explanation. As pastors, is it our job to grow this church?
I think it's a funny one, right? Because it's like, it almost feels weird to say no because, but I am saying no. Because it's like, well, isn't that your job, right? Like a lot of people would probably say, but isn't that your job? It's like, well, no, like to be a pastor, to be a shepherd means that it's my job to steward the body of people that God has brought to this place and to do the thing he said to do, right? To proclaim the gospel in such a way that people could come to know Jesus, full of faith that he also said he would grow his church, that Jesus also said that he was going to do the hard work, right? That he would send power, the Holy Spirit would come. Like Pentecost didn't happen because they really wanted it to. Correct. Like those 3,000 people didn't get saved because they were great speakers or because they like had a cool light show. Like none of that stuff, right, caused Pentecost to happen. Jesus is like, wait around until the right moment. You'll know. Trust me. Power is going to come, and then I'm going to do the thing through you. And so for me, it's like complicated, right? But the answer is no. Like I could never. Yeah. I mean, I could grow a crowd. Yeah. But I can't grow the church.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good difference.
I think it also I don't walk out of the doors and stop functioning as a pastor or as if I've given my life to ministry and following Jesus. And I think that's the tension. If my job is solely to grow Bayview, then I'm going to become solely focused on those who are at Bayview or just want them to come to Bayview. And that mentality, what happens is all of a sudden, like if we're not careful, if I'm interacting with an individual and I'm like, well, they don't go to my church, like, does that mean I interact with them less? Does that mean I withhold Jesus from like, you know what I mean? Like that's almost the tension I feel when the mentality is I'm supposed to grow this church. It's like God has placed me here and has given me the chance to function here and my family be planted here. But this is also just my church in general. Like I view you, Chris, as one of my pastors and Richie is one of my, like, so there's this mentality of like, I can grow here and I obviously work here and I want to see this place, blow up. I want to see it be a beacon of light. But when I go coach basketball and there's 15 guys on the team and only one goes to my youth group back in the day, I don't treat him any different than the other 14 individuals who I'm now in place of to mentor, to be a spiritual leader, to like, do you know what I mean? I think that's always the tension of, this is specifically from a pastoral perspective, this is not, again, the corporate side of things where when I walk out, I'm not dealing with numbers anymore. It's like, no, I walk out and I'm still in this position of being a shepherd in that mentality. I think that's answered. Like,
yeah, no, it is. It definitely is. And I mean, not that there's a right or wrong answer. No, there is. The right answer is no. Like, right. I mean, we're not, that's, if we embrace that as our calling to grow this church and, or a pastor, whatever church he's at, if that's, well, then everything we do, all decisions we make are filtered through, well, what's best for Bayview and what's best for our numbers and what's best for our budget. And none of those things are part of the Great Commission. And none of those things have anything to do with leading a Holy Spirit-filled, Jesus-seeking church. It's building maybe a great organization. And I think there's a lot of great organizations around the world and specifically in our country that just happen to have the word church in their name.
Sure.
Yeah.
But when we embrace our calling, that our job is to simply reach people for Jesus, help them become followers, and do kingdom work. So are we called to help grow the kingdom? Well, now we're talking. Absolutely.
Yeah.
We're called to go to Judea, Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, all into the earth. We're called to do kingdom work.
Yeah.
And we're called to love people no matter where they are or where they attend church.
Yeah.
And we've said that for years here, and that is like, listen, we're going to love you where you are. And once you find Jesus, we want you to find a church community to grow with.
Mm.
If it happens to be us, awesome.
Yeah.
But if it's not, cool.
Yeah.
Just as great if they're preaching the gospel.
Yeah, and I think that's the truth there, where it's like when you become a follower of Jesus, we'll talk about it here in this next week, but even just looking at the Sermon on the Mount, when he says you're the salt of the earth, light of the world, he's saying that not in the sense of you're only that when you're at church.
Mm-hmm.
He's saying that is you. That is who you are as a follower of Jesus. Like, that's your purpose, is to go into your places and spaces and wherever it might be. And whether they are a believer, whether they go to Bayview or your church or whatever, it's like you're just supposed to be a follower of his. And I think that's that call is not even just to us as pastors. Like, that is to literally anyone who calls themselves a believer or follower of Jesus.
Absolutely. And that's why I rarely read church growth books. And I'm not saying there's not good ones out there and good strategies. I mean, I've read them over the years. But after doing this for this long, I've just become to embrace the reality that church growth, the numerical growth, I would say, it's a byproduct of being on mission. Mm-hmm. It's the result. It's not the goal. Even financial growth in your church, that's a byproduct of you doing what we're called to do. Because if someone is growing spiritually and someone is discovering the life-changing power of Jesus Christ in their life, they're going to do a couple things as a byproduct of Jesus in their life, not me in their ear or you in their ear. Yeah. They're going to do, first of all, they're going to surrender their life and everything there. So now they become open-handed. Mm-hmm. So that includes their treasures. Jesus talks about it. Where your heart is, there your treasure is also. There your money is also. So they're going to want to understand, like, oh, part of worship and obedience is giving back to the Lord some of the blessings. They're also going to do this. They're going to see the people, and you're going to talk about that this coming week, the people in their real personal circles that are hurting and hopeless like lost sheep, as Jesus says.
Yeah.
And they're going to be like, you know what? I don't want to see that. And I know how they might find freedom and hope. They're going to naturally want to talk about what they're experiencing. Yeah. And it's a little bit what we talked about Sunday, like I'm a witness to what I've experienced. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And anytime you've experienced something spectacular, man, we want to talk about it. We want to share that.
Yeah.
And I think that's where sometimes, even as leaders, we get so distracted by getting so focused on the programs and the workings of the church. And again, as you said, it's not that it's all bad. Mm-hmm. It's not bad to offer a potluck. It's not bad to offer all these different ministries. But if they're not still grounded in that mission of, is that helping someone take a step towards Jesus?
Yep.
Potlucks can do that.
Yeah.
And I'm a fan of deviled eggs and potlucks, no doubt about it, because there's fellowship there, there's relationships built there, but through that relationship, is there still that path where is there a workflow?
Yeah.
Shout out to Planning Center. Is there a workflow that takes them to their next step, right?
Yeah.
Of, am I getting closer to Jesus? And I think that's, so yeah, it's a yes, no question, but it is very muddy a little bit because it all works together.
Yeah. So I'm just thinking about this, right? Like, I think it's easy for the three of us, especially, to speak in terms that we know we understand, maybe other church people understand.
That's true.
What are some things, like, if maybe you're new to church, or church is something that you're kind of just diving into for the first time, like as an adult, what are some things that you're looking for, like, in your church and in the ministries of your church, that are like, oh, that's mission at work, that's mission, that's how I can be part of mission? What are some things maybe you can look for, whether you go to Bayview or maybe anywhere else?
I would say if you're listening or you attend our church, for example, and you're new to this whole thing, you're like, all right, so what's next for me? I'd say by far step one is get to a Bible study. Just get to a Bible study. Mm-hmm. Come to Sunday mornings, but get to a Bible study. Get around other people where you can at least begin to learn what is God's word? What are the books of the Bible? How does it all flow? How does it all work together? How does it all point to Jesus? Because that's the foundation of everything, is learning, is being in his word. That'd be my recommended first step. Just get out and go. And if you've not been to one of our Bible studies, there's no sign up. They all start this week. In fact, I think men's shop talk starts tonight at 6:30. It's Tuesday, so that's not tonight technically. So, but yeah, just show up. You don't have to sign up, just show up. I think that's one part before you do anything. I would almost want to say, we'll maybe start serving, but no, don't start serving yet.
Sure.
Right? Don't sign up to serve yet. You just work on you first if this is all new.
Right, because that's part of it, right? It's like go and tell them, and the process of discipleship starts, right, when they accept Christ. And
Correct.
So if you're new, like that's really it, right? That's what the discipleship looks like practically. Going to a Bible study, joining a small group, letting somebody invest into you who's maybe just even like 3 steps down the road, right? Someone who's been a little further, someone who can attest to a little bit more than you can, someone who can point you back to God's word a little bit better than you can for yourself right now. And to like have that person in a sense like over you, but not over you in a weird way, but like over you, like they've just been doing a little bit longer and they have something to offer and they're going to just give it freely to me.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So break this down then, like maybe it would help that better understanding if this is a little bit new or we're using terminology that is like, I don't know what that is. What's the cookies on the bottom shelf definition of discipleship or a disciple?
For me, it's a follower of Jesus. And when I say follower, it's like you are actually like invested in a relationship with him. So your prayer life, your reading, like you're wanting to live out the ways of Jesus. And so it's not so much about church attendance and some of that kind of stuff. We can check it off, but it's more or less like, are you allowing your life to be transformed by him?
Yeah. I think a lot of it revolves around, for me, like when I think about talking to students about what does it mean to be a disciple, it's just this idea of, do you let Jesus and what Jesus said was important dictate what's important to you?
Yeah.
And so it really is just this like looking at my life and being like, are there parts of my life that I just keep for myself that don't belong to God? And to like interact in those ways, right? And so that does mean that, am I reading my Bible? Am I praying? Like the checklist of stuff. Am I going to church? But it also means when I get to school, do I act a certain way? Do I still act like I read the Bible this morning when I get to work? How do I treat my family? Am I showing respect to my parents? Like all of those things. And it's just like, do the activities of your life look more like Jesus or look more like the person you've always been? And to be a disciple means that I am recognizing that, but then walking towards God and saying, God, I want to be more like Jesus. I want to be less like I used to be. And to allow God to speak to you in that way and to use other people to speak into your life in those ways too.
I think, both those are exactly how I would have broken it down. When I hear the word disciple, I think of like, the earliest introduction of that word for me was reading the book of Matthew when Jesus comes and he calls the first disciples. And so I think for me, I always associate directly with like, well, how did the 12 follow Jesus? What were the OGs doing? So there's a couple things that like fall in line with exactly what you guys said. One is they left their old life behind. So they were fishermen. Now, it doesn't mean they never fished again, no, but it just means they walked away from that occupation. It says that when Jesus called them, they dropped their nets and left everything. So step one is to deny yourself, let go of all the old parts of you. Be willing to go open-handed. It doesn't mean, and I think this is where some people that are far from God, checking Christianity out, they think that the moment I open my hands and surrender my life to God, he's going to take all the good stuff out. He's a big, angry bully that wants to make me suffer. It's like, that's not even close to the God of the Bible, Old or New Testament. But there might be some things that as your Heavenly Father, he decides this isn't in your best interest. Here's some other blessings that are really good. And so I think that step one is just to leave it behind. And then they did what? They simply followed Jesus. They just followed him. By following him, they learned, they received his teaching, they grew in their understanding of the Bible, of the Word, of what faith was. They experienced Jesus, they experienced miracles and amazing things. So they got to see the supernatural side of the Son of God. They also showed us that following Jesus is not going to be perfect because their followership was messy. They didn't understand half of what Jesus taught. They argued about who was best. They doubted Jesus. I mean, go through the list of all the things where I could have been a really good disciple because I'm a mess at times. And so, right? So I was like, wow, you mean that's what being a Christian is? Yeah, that's what being a Christian is. It's not about changing all your behaviors. Jesus will do that. Follow Jesus and let him do that work. And it's something we say here frequently is that this is not about behavior modification. It's about life transformation. And that's an inside-out transformation. And it takes time, and it looks different in all of our lives. But it goes back to what you said. Just, are you making Jesus that pursuit every day? Do I wake up each morning to say, you know what, today I want to do my very best to honor him with my words, actions, and thoughts? And it may not be perfect. It may not be pretty. I may go, I may go for 6 for 10.
Yeah.
But I'm going to do everything I can. And I think that's that heart pursuit.
Yeah, that's good.
And I think that really ties back to even like kind of where we began, right? Is like, what does it mean to be on mission even in your own personal life? And so much of the mission that we experience is not us just going on the street corner with a sign that says repent, and follow Jesus, right? Like it's instead the fact that we maybe don't participate in the same ways other people do, or we are always truthful at work, right? We don't skip, we don't cut corners, we don't make things easy for ourselves, that people see us living with a heart of humility towards people who maybe are, underneath us at work, or who that we're managing, or even our own household. And being on mission is so much more about, does my life look like Jesus, than it is me like standing up with my Bible and like preaching at somebody.
Yeah, exactly. And what's going to actually be effective in helping them find their path to Jesus. It's not going to be standing up and yelling at them or wearing a sandwich board sign up and down Main Street or something like that. It's going to be walking side by side with them, having those conversations, listening to their life, listening for the moments of hurt and pain. I heard somebody say that years ago. I can't remember what speaker it was, but I thought it was brilliant. And it said, listen, you don't come in, pushing Jesus down their throat. You come in listening, and you listen for the moments of hurt, pain, and lostness. And when those moments come up in the conversation, you bring the light of Jesus in. I was like, that's a brilliant path of sharing Jesus, right? Takes the pressure off of knowing the 4 spiritual laws or having my bracelet with all the different colors on it.
Right.
For those of you who don't go to church, have no idea what I'm talking about. Like, we know, and it hurts. I think it just changes the way we do it. Again, it puts it more in line with how Jesus did it. And I think that's just such the perfect model of that we're called to do that. The flip side of it is that we're going to continue to do the things that support the mission. So it doesn't mean that having parties on our patio is a bad thing. It doesn't mean that offering women's ministry, men's ministry, some fun things, retreats, camps, I mean, those are all great things as long as the methods, those are methods, as long as the methods don't overpower the mission. And getting it backwards, that we're so busy doing the method that we forget the mission. And I think we see that playing out. I was reading this morning in Acts chapter 6, and it's that place where the disciples are overwhelmed. They're at 5,000 at this point, right? 3,000 and more. But what happens right there? As it says, I think my summarization is, as they continued to grow and multiply, people started complaining. Which, right?
Yeah.
Church 101.
Yeah. Classic.
Classic. Every pastor is like,
Yeah.
They started complaining that our widows are being treated different. Just classic stuff. No big deal. And the disciples were the ones who were like, listen, that's not what we're here to do. And so they begin to make that delineation between method and mission. Like, what are the things that are important, but they're not the mission? And they listen, our mission is to pray, read, study, and preach the gospel. This stuff is fine. It's important. So we're going to elect 7 other dudes to come over here and do the organizational side, because this is what we're here to do.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really important thing. Like I love our church. I love the things we offer. I love the deep things. I love the things like our Good Friday services and our Christmas Eve service. I love the moments where we go deep in that quiet intimacy with Jesus. But I love the fun times too. I love the magic freezer for partying the patio. That is the endless supply of every kind of ice cream bar and sandwich you could ever find. I love that. That's fun. But I'm not waking up tomorrow being like, all right, how do we grow the freezer ministry?
Yeah.
You know,
That's fair.
Yeah.
so I think that's what we're trying to break down is like, hey, we love these things, but when push comes to shove, understand this is what we're here to do, and this is what we're going to do, and we're going to do it without apologizing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I would say too, like, even on the flip side of that, we are just like kind of the disciples were there. Like, we're going to stand up and say, this is not hitting the mission anymore. We need to rethink it.
Yes.
And be willing to let things go that maybe we've done, right?
Yeah.
It's like, Christmas cantatas had their moment in the sun, and that moment's probably not now.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And if it ever came back around, then we would have to have that conversation again, right? Like, if that became a thing in America again to have pageants and stuff, then we would have that conversation again. But in the meantime, it's kind of like, not that everything's always on the chopping block or anything like that, but that mode of assessing, like, are we mission minded in the way that we're doing this? Is this still hitting that mission mark that we're shooting for all the time? If not, do we need to tweak it? Do we need to take a year off? Do we need to find people with different giftings to take it over? Like, what needs to happen in order for that to be mission minded, mission focused, like really pursuing people, getting closer to Jesus, and for us to just like go in that direction?
Yeah. I think that's perfectly said.
Good.
Yeah, I totally agree. I've heard it said this way, that the living water we're delivering, that never changes. But the containers we carry it in change all the time.
Yeah.
And I think that's the way I've always viewed it, is that, I mean, we've all seen it. I mean, Christmas cantatas is one of many examples of how church has just changed over the years, like dramatically changed since we were kids. Yeah. The way church looks, smells, acts, does, programs, all that stuff. But as long as the substance of the container, what's inside, as long as the message, well, that's the mission. And everything else is, like you said, it's not that it's on the chopping block, but it's always available for God to change it or take it. Because that's not the mission. That's just a method of accomplishing the mission.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I'm excited about our fall. I hope if you're listening and you go to Bayview, I cannot encourage you enough to find one of the Bible studies. There's 4 every week. And I know it seems it's like, well, you're just offering Bible studies. Yeah, we're offering Bible studies. We have some home groups that'll be kicking off here in the next month or so, and that's also important. But at the end of the day, if I could say we preach on Sunday mornings, we offer Bible studies, I think I'd sleep well at night.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, but we also have student ministries kicking off, which is, again, it's not just fun and games. It is these kids, these students growing closer to Jesus.
Yeah.
And it's a discipleship making situation. And we're hearing stories coming out of that where it's changing the lives of their families. Our kids ministry, we're hearing stories coming out of that. So many places where Jesus is being taught and people are becoming and learning what it is to be a disciple.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
It is.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, hey, thanks for listening today. Thanks for being with us. We're here each and every week. If you have not done so, click subscribe or like at the bottom of whatever platform you're listening on so you never miss an episode. We'll be here next week, same time, same place, same seats probably.
Probably.
We'll see. I don't know. Sure. Why not? All right. Hey, till next week. It's Andrew. It's Richie. It's Mr. Chris. We'll see you next time around.